Hello, my fellow gamers and readers. You are listening to the Gamer Librarian Podcast, the best podcast you can find on this side of the multiverse. I am your host, Adrian, and today I will be talking about the recent Nintendo Direct, my first few hours with the Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree DLC, and more. Afterwards, be sure to follow us to be notified when future episodes are released. We just put up some new links to our Podbean page where you can find us on various sites like Spotify, Amazon Music / Audible, iHeartRadio, Player FM, Samsung Podchaser, and Boomplay. So follow us on whatever platforms you guys can and tell us how we're doing. What should we read? What should we play? And honestly, I'm so excited to tell you what I've seen in the Elden Ring DLC so far. So I really want to talk about that. So I started at midnight as soon as it launched here on the East Coast, and I played for about 5 hours late into the night, and a little bit this morning right before work, and of course during work. But so far I've beaten two bosses, and that was the Black Gold Knight and the Divine Beast Dancing Lion. Pretty difficult, not really the most challenging so far from the Elden Ring itself, but they were pretty difficult for the time, especially getting used to my build again and using all my spells and things like that. But I am digging this DLC. It is creepy. The vibes of just the haunting like ambiance here in the Shadow Realm is so cool, and the enemies are really sick. My favorite so far certainly is the spider scorpion things that you find pretty early on. But other than that, that's about a spoiler I'm going to get for the DLC. I'm not really going to get into story or anything like that, but it is gorgeous looking, this DLC. The vibes are just totally there for this like haunted kind of ambiance that they're really going for. I really dig it. Hidetaka Miyazaki and IGN had a little article where they talked about some of the new things for the patch and the DLC, and they talked about how they amped up the bosses, which seems like they did that for here because these bosses have some pretty sick moves and animations that are pretty, difficult to move around. Especially the lion boss was, for me at least as a melee class, was a little difficult to get a hang of. But yeah, you guys playing the Shadow of the Erdtree DLC right now or this weekend? How far have you gotten? What are your expectations and what do you think of it so far? Let me know down below in the comments or follow me and just let me know what you're thinking of this DLC because I'm loving it. I'm so excited to see what they're gonna do for like the final ending for it and just what the last bit of the game is gonna be because this is probably it for Elden Ring. We're probably never gonna get a sequel for a while. I mean, this game is like huge. I don't know if we'll get a sequel. Certainly not DLC, but FromSoft probably gonna have something cooking. I'm personally hoping for a new Armored Core because the last one was so good. Like even DLC, I'll take. That's what honestly I'll take. I definitely still plan on reading the Elden Ring and Dark Souls comics sometime in the future, so that we gotta keep an eye out for those. And I think they actually put the manga for Elden Ring on hiatus. I saw a little article for that, so that seems pretty decent because this is still going on. It's not like canceled or anything, and the lore is like expansive. So I'm definitely excited to see what's gonna be in store for Elden Ring in the future. So, the Nintendo Direct, let's get into that because Nintendo came out swinging this year with some really great heavy hitter games, a lot of returning titles, which is really great to see. Nintendo has dipped into a lot of newer titles with their Squid Game and I guess Splatoon. That's what it is. Splatoon was pretty popular all across Japan, which is pretty cool. And there's also Xenoblade Chronicles, which I think is pretty new. I think Xenoblade is a newer series as far as I'm concerned. I could be completely wrong on that, but at least they're having some pretty good newer games like still hold up. But these returning titles like Metroid Prime 4 and Luigi's Mansion got some stuff, and then there's a Mario and Luigi Brothership, which is so cool to see the RPG stuff getting some more love. But for me, the Metroid Prime 4 is just what is like so exciting for me because I love Metroid Prime. The remaster on the Switch was so good. Not to mention Metroid Dread, the side-scrolling game, which is very more traditional to the original Metroid games. Love them. But they also had a returning fighting game franchise that is, for all intents and purposes, we had thought was just gone. Like after Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite, we thought Marvel vs. Capcom was never going to be like touched again by the property holders or anyone making a game for them. So having Nintendo come out and have them feature with Marvel vs. Capcom Arcade Collection, I mean, that's just so great that Capcom and Marvel were able to get that all together and just get this collection to us because we haven't seen some of these games in more over a decade. Marvel vs. Capcom was like last obtainable on the PS3, like digitally, and then and Marvel's Punisher, like the arcade game. I don't know how long that was not like allowed to be like available for purchase. So having this available is pretty cool. And it's all in a big collection. They have the original arcade fighting games of X-Men Children of the Atom and Marvel Superheroes. Those two games preceded the ultimate crossover, which was X-Men versus Street Fighter, which ultimately became Marvel Superheroes versus Street Fighter. And then it all comes together for Marvel versus Capcom. And not only the first one, Clash of the Heroes, we get Marvel vs. Capcom 2, the craziest of the bunch. And I've never played any of these games really. I played like an arcade version of Marvel vs. Capcom 2 like once a few years ago, but I've never gotten a chance to actually play through all these games, fight the secret bosses. I don't even know if half of them even have like secret endings or arcade endings. Like I wouldn't even know. Um, but I'm so excited because I've only ever played Marvel vs. Capcom 3, Infinite, and that was it. There was just those two, and I love them. They're great games, and I'm sad to see that like it's a crossover that won't like probably never happen again, but hopefully it will if you buy all the copies for this game. So buy them. Buy all the copies for Marvel's Capcom Fighting Collection on Switch, PS4, I think, and PS5, and PC. No version for the Xbox, which is fine, I guess. Like I think a PC is like fine. Maybe they're having like an issue with like hardware or something. There's articles and stuff about it, but I'm not really concerned because I'm not, into the games being on different platforms. I have everything. I have a PC, I have Xbox, PlayStation. It's fine for me. So I'm gonna get on the Switch because that's like the greatest system like right now. So like it's the best thing. Why would I not want to get the Marvel vs. Capcom collection on Switch? Like what are we talking about? So yes, that's an immediate purchase like on like from me. Absolutely. So go buy that game so we can get even more games in the franchise. Hopefully, maybe this is like a step in the right direction for, the franchise to come back because Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite was a misstep. It certainly wasn't the game that people had expected from Capcom and Marvel, especially so many years after uh, a great legacy of games. Like it's like the thing that made fighting games so great, at least like in terms of like a fan base, because these like recognizable characters. They're not like super original from like other titles. Like it's not like a Guilty Gear or Fantasy Blue or some other thing. Like it's not just Capcom characters in a fighting game. It's Marvel characters, which is so great. This is a trend going back from the 90s, and we don't see crossovers like this happen ever. We get like DLC that's like skins or something like that nowadays. We like look at all this stuff in Call of Duty Warzone with the Warhammer stuff, and I think they have like John Wick or something. I think I saw that like a few months ago. And it's just we don't get crossovers like this anymore, where it's like full force. Both companies are head into something that could be pretty cool, and I think that's pretty sad that we don't get anything like that anymore. So really excited to see that Marvel vs. Capcom is back, and that's a purchase from me because that's a great collection to get, an absolute great collection to get, and it even has like great online features from what we've seen or like heard, and it has like crossplay and like robot netcode or something. Yeah, so if you like Capcom, Marvel games, fighting games, or anything like that, get that game absolutely because I'm excited for it. Hopefully a good, like hopefully it's like a good port or whatever they're gonna do. But I'm pretty hopeful because they've had some pretty good like track record Capcom for their recent like arcade stuff from what I've seen, and be getting new Mario Party like collection game, which is pretty cool. I liked the last one, which was fun. They had a lot like new quality of life stuff to Mario Party, which was pretty nice. So I'm excited to play Mario Party Jamboree. It's been a long time since I've actually like played Mario Party since like college, like full college days. But yeah, Mario and Luigi Brothership, that's so cool, especially because we've gotten such good Paper Mario games, like the last two on Switch. I played the Mario RPG game that came out, I think, December, and that was also really fun. So seeing the Mario and Luigi series come back is great because I definitely don't want the handheld series of games to just die or just be ported and never be like made again. And I mean like spin-off games that were on the like the Game Boy and the DS, like some of the Paper Mario games, or even like Final Fantasy Tactics was a Game Boy game, I think specifically. Maybe it's on PS2. But Mario and Luigi was like only handheld games, like only. It was on Game Boy, and it was on like like DS titles, which I never played, and those just seemed like really fun. So I definitely would like to see those games come back because we're not seeing any DS or 3DS titles on the Switch as far as I've seen, and I would really hate that, to see those games lost. Metroid Prime 4 does look great. I'm just hopeful that it's probably true to like the experience of Metroid. Hopefully it's not like too actiony where it's like it doesn't feel like it's like a kind of open puzzly kind of like from soft experience where like you're opening like new experiences when like you get new power-ups and things like that. But I'm definitely still excited from the experience of Metroid Prime Remastered because if they can get that running on the Switch, I'm sure that whatever Metroid Prime 4 can be experiencing on the Switch is going to be fine. And then Switch 2, we no mention of that at this direct. So is this the last year of, of the Switch? I don't know. I've been saying that for 2 years now that it was like time for a new Switch. And yeah, that pretty much does it for like the news of the week. No more directs, no more showcases. All of the video game like stuff I think is pretty done for now. Everyone probably like has a really good idea of what is potentially good games that are going to be coming out and what is a little more iffy. Um, but I'm excited on a lot of the things Nintendo showed off, and I'm certainly hopeful that some games that were, featured will change over time, or at the very least, be delayed until some things might be more positive. But I'm definitely open to seeing what's going to be into the future. And we have things like the Warhammer Rogue Trader DLC to look forward to. That's on August 8th, and that's pretty exciting. At least for me, I like Warhammer. We talked about that a little earlier with Call of Duty, but I like Final Fantasy 14. That's been pretty strong so far. Been noticing a lot more people playing now since we're a week out into Dawn Trail releasing. It was pushed back because of course, Shadow of the Erdtree, which is pretty fun. And I'm definitely hoping to finish that this weekend specifically, so I can then blast through what is the last remaining post content of Shadowbringers, and then it's just full trail into Endwalker until we get to Dawn Trail. So might be cutting it short, but it is what it is. So I'm definitely here for you guys on the ride with Shadow of the Erdtree and Final Fantasy 14. So I'm so excited to maybe start a free company for all of you listening for the podcast. So if you're Final Fantasy fans and you want someone to play with when Dawn Trail releases, let me know if you want a free company for everyone, and we can just try to do some of the late end game raids and see what everybody could do. I'm a big Final Fantasy fan, and I'm excited to see what they have in store because I haven't played Shadow Walkers or Shadowbringers or Endwalker, so this entire new experience is so fun, so great. And you could definitely look forward to me playing the Dragon Age and Gears of War franchises later on sometime after the Final Fantasy and Shadow of the Erdtree stuff dies down, because it's full force in Dragon Age. Absolutely, you're gonna see me start talking about the Dragon Age books as I play Dragon Age Origins. We're gonna go through Dragon Age: The Stolen Throne and The Calling by David Gator. Haven't read those, so I've only read some of the later books, but I'm definitely excited because these are prequels, so that's going to be cool. And Dragon Age Origins is one of like the coolest RPGs you could ever have. It's definitely one of the games where like when like you get out into the open and you make a choice of like where you're gonna go, the experience of the story based on your first choice is where it's like brings you like to the end, and what's the different branches and all that stuff. It's so good. The combat is so good, even if people don't like the slower, more turn-based action part of it. It doesn't matter to me. It's amazing. The storytelling is so amazing. I'm definitely excited to see what they're gonna do for Dragon Age Veilguard when it comes to those games, because I definitely don't think that they should just forget the old games. I want to see what kind of choices that they're going to have based off of your actions and stuff from previous games into this new one, because they have 15 years of history from these three games, Dragon Age Origins from to Inquisition, so there's a lot that they need to at least acknowledge from the previous players, and I at least want to be acknowledged to that front when it comes to me doing my first playthrough. But I'm still hopeful that BioWare is gonna, you know, pull it out their ass and get something out of there. And for Gears of War, Gears of War E-Day was announced, and that's definitely going to be something that I'm looking forward to. But I don't know if a prequel is the way to go because they already established like this newer franchise with some of the newer characters, and they're trying to go back to like their roots of like being scary and stuff, and that doesn't really like I don't really think it was super scary, to that like same degree. For like at least for me playing as a kid, it wasn't like that. It was definitely like more actiony and like fun to shoot around and stuff. A little more like Halo to a regard. It's definitely a more serious story, very like uh somber and just like sad for the most part because it just seems like at least in the first three games like a very unhopeful situation. Four and five don't really have that same kind of premise of gloom and doom that the first trilogy did. And then there's Judgment. Judgment is definitely like a prequel game that they should have like revisited instead of maybe doing a Marcus story again. Because Judgment had some pretty cool like ideas with the soldier Baird being like um disciplined for saving the day, like quite literally saving the day. But it's been so long that I played it. But yeah, that was definitely a pretty cool story from what I remember. But I love Gears of War. I'm so excited to get back into that franchise. So we're definitely gonna be playing the Gears of War games and going through the books and comics. That's definitely gonna be happening in the future. And speaking of comics, this month is June, and I wanted to feature a book or a novel or something more along the lines of something for LGBT, support and pride and all that. So I was in this comic book store a while ago when I was out with my girlfriend, I think in DC, and I saw that they had a DC Pride series. Like the version that I read have here is 2022, and it looks like they have a whole bunch of them from 2021, and then they go on for I think recently this year they have a whole new series. As far as I know, they're an anthology. They don't really follow like a hard set story. It focuses on uh, specifically non-straight or non-hetero characters for the most part, like original characters, I think, and then some spin-off characters of versions that we already know and love, which is pretty cool. And there's some pretty cool stories that I liked, like the public display of electromagnetic spectrum was really cool. It features a character, the Ray. I've never seen him before, but it's more about his expressing affection towards a teammate on like that he's on with everyone else on the team, like around them. And I thought that was a really cool dynamic because that's something that's definitely very much in comics a lot of the time. That's something that is like very natural in comics, like team relationships and things like that. I like that kind of dynamic, and that was great because it's between a very gay couple, and I love that for this series, and that was really cool. Then there's Finding Batman, which is like a autobiographical story for Kevin Conroy about like his experiences that he drew as being gay. It was pretty cool. He gets called a slur, and that's pretty terrible. The Gumshoe and Green was also really cool. It's like a detective, like noir, Green Lantern story about like like using sex for like work, which is really cool. Like the villains are kind of the same thing in that story. I really liked that. So these like have some really cool like dynamics between like how they express uh sex and sexuality within the stories. 'Cause that's very focused, and I like that. I definitely would like to see a maybe more longer series focusing on something like that, at least for the most part. But you get that in so many different forms. But this anthology stuff is pretty cool. So I definitely look forward to reading more DC Pride stuff in the future if I can get my hands on some of the stuff. Like the 2023 and 2024 ones will certainly be up there. Yeah, so that's about it for what I'm reading. You could definitely see me gonna go read Dragon Age books now. So in the future, every episode is probably gonna be featured Dragon Age at some point. First episode is probably gonna be Stolen Throne. I think that's first. So definitely gonna be getting through that. And I've been reading manga. Always been on that every week. The One Piece recent one, 117, 1017 or 1117. Uh, the broadcast that Vegapunk is putting out was canceled, so we definitely are not going to get a lot of more information very soon. Probably not, which sucks. But the meaning of D, all kinds of these secrets, they're going to be spilled soon, and I'm so excited. It's week by week that I'm frothing at the mouth, just waiting for more information on One Piece. It's too much. It's honestly too much. It's going to be very different to have an ending for this. We've been waiting so long. My Hero is getting close to an ending, I think, at least for like its first iteration. Chapter 425 had some pretty like cliffhangery stuff, especially like teasing a supposed new villain, it seems like. And then Wild Strawberry, I'm definitely on. That's pretty cool. The tournament, I think, is just about to end. I think they're beginning phase three or round three after fighting these robot things. I think that ended in the last chapter. But Wild Strawberry is pretty fun too. I'm loving the art with the plant monsters. It's so good. And besides manga, I'm waiting on Berserk and Black Clover. Those are the longest ones that are just, never gonna come out because they're just so good that they take forever to make. And then Dragon Ball's on indefinite hiatus, very understandable. But we have Sparking Zero. We can't complain. I wouldn't complain about the manga taking as long as it needs. We're getting a new game, so I'm not really gonna harp on them for doing that. So rest in peace, Toriyama. And I'll end it with this: is that you guys can definitely look forward to me definitely in the future taking a break from Dragon Age and Gears, probably in the middle, to blast through the Boys comic book series so I can get through season four of the Boys. And I'm excited to see what they have because I've seen stuff online for I guess episodes one and two, and it seems pretty crazy. And then me and Hannah we started watching House of the Dragon. We're only like on episode two or three right now, and it's pretty exciting. They have a pretty cool dynamic of like people who clearly like specifically verbally want power, like in a family dynamic, like a daughter who wants power and not getting it, which is pretty cool. And then like insufferable younger brother to like the Targaryen king who's just pushing all the wrong buttons and doing all the wrong things. It's definitely a pretty cool show, and the dragons are pretty neat this time around. So hopefully it doesn't have like the same trips that the last end of Dragons, like Game of Thrones did. But I'm definitely enjoying the show so far, so I'm gonna stick with it for now. And that's gonna be about it. I think our time is up. The lunch is over, and for next episode, definitely look out on me telling you what I experienced for the end of Shadow of the Erdtree DLC, and let me know what you guys are playing and reading this week, what you guys look forward to for the rest of the year, you know? And that's going to be about it for this episode. See you guys.